Okay, hello, my name is Adam Udovich, and today I will be presenting on conditional logic in programming and how we can make our code more complex using things like if statements, else if statements, and else statements. So first, what is conditional logic and how does it work? So conditional logic is the way we evaluate if something's true or false in a computer and what decisions to be made. So we all know computers are comprised of 1-0 decisions, trues or false, yes or no, and conditional logic gives us some structure to that. So the best way to look at conditional logic at first and think about it is by having sort of English sentences and just normal words. So here we have an if, else if, and an else statement, and just in normal word format. And this we can think of as a conditional logic structure. So we have the statement, if the person is taller than 6 feet, we do this operation. And the do this in this case could be printing something, doing a function call, maybe doing some arithmetic operation. Next we have our else if. So this is, if this statement is true, we'll do this, but if the statement is not true, we'll go to the next line of the conditional structure, which is the else if in this case, the else if. So else if the person is taller than 5.5 feet, we'll do this. Finally, else, we'll do this. And this else at the end is sort of a catch-all. If none of the above statements are true, whatever the value was, we'll hit this else statement and we'll do some action. So here we have it in C++ code. If the person is greater than 6 feet, we'll do a cout, else if the person evaluates to greater than 5.5 feet, and else, so that means if person is less than 5.5 feet, anything below that, we'll do this cout statement at the end. So here's a more complex conditional logic structure so you can get a better feel for how they work. We'll have our double person one at 5.6 feet, and we'll have this conditional logic structure here, then two mother if statements. So it's really best to think of if statements as separate conditional logic structures with the else if and the else's and the else inside of them. So thinking about what this would print out, if we go to the next slide, we can see that still tall and still tall at the very bottom would print out in this logic structure. So if we walk through it together, we'll see if the person is greater than 6 feet, then we'll cout pretty tall. Well, we're at 5.6 feet, so we're not greater than 6 feet. So we'll go to the next else if because the first statement evaluated is false. So else if the person is greater than 5.5 feet, hey, it is. So then we'll hit this do this in the middle. We'll hit this cout statement. Next, we'll break out of this whole conditional logic structure set up by this initial if statement. So we see this else if here. We're not even going to go and look at it because we know this first else if was true. So if we're going through the rest of our code, we'll hit this next if statement. You can think about it, whenever you hit an if statement, you have to evaluate that condition, but if you've already hit an if statement and you're in an else if or an else inside of it, you will stop the moment you hit one of these do this statements or once something evaluates to true. So we check if person one is equal to 5.7 feet, well it's not, so we're not going to hit this cout. And finally, the person is equal to 5.6 feet, so we'll hit this last cout statement. So we've been using a lot of these different logical operators like the less than or the equal to, as you've probably seen in some of your basic math classes before. And here's just a quick syntax chart of how you can use them and think about them in C++ coding. As I said, we have our less than or equal to, our greater than or equal to, and our equal to and our not equal to operators. So it'd be good to kind of write these down and go over them so you can use them in future projects. Something that's important to note is mistakenly using the operator equals and the assignment operator within conditional statements. So if we have a couple integers here, we have a and b, we have the statement if a is equal to 2, we'll cout a yes, and we know that is true, a is 2, so we will cout this yes. But yes, if we check, if a is assigned to b, we'll cout the yes. So what this does, if you try to write this in C++, is A will always be assigned to B. That statement's always true. If you're saying, I want A to be B, it'll always evaluate as true. So the statement will always evaluate to true and will always do this statement inside of it. So you really want to watch out for having this by accident as a potential bug instead of having the operator equals. So finally, just a quick recap. Conditional logic is how we kind of go through more complex decision structures with these yes, no, true, false statements in coding. It's really easy to think about it when writing it out in English language. That can be pretty helpful. And we also have our conditional logic structures with our if, else if, and else statements, as we've seen before in some of the slides. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a lot of fun using these more complex decision-making structures in your future projects.